Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into some pretty powerful stuff today. Ancient wisdom. We're talking about a hymn you can find in the Bible, 2 Samuel 22. Now, I know what you're thinking, a hymn, seriously. But stick with us, this ancient song, it actually dives into some seriously timeless human experiences, and with expert speaker here to break it down, I think you'll be surprised how relevant it feels even today.
It's amazing, right? Like these ancient texts can still hit us where we live after all these years. There's just something about them that's so powerful. Exploring those universal themes, seeking refuge, having faith, expressing gratitude, it's all in there.
Totally. So let's set the scene a bit. This hymn, it's tributed to King David,
Yeah.
a guy who, let's be real, faced a ton of drama,
Yeah.
danger, think battles, betrayals, political intrigue, you name it. He probably lived through it.
And this hymn, 2 Samuel 22, this is his way of processing all of that chaos, like how he made it through it all, came out on top, it's like a victory song almost, a testament to resilience and faith, even when things are completely crazy.
And he uses some powerful imagery too. David describes God as his rock, his fortress, his shield. It's not just a casual thank you note, it's this whole picture. You can almost feel that sense of protection and security,
Yeah.
in the middle of life's storms.
Yeah, those metaphors, they meant something big back then. Imagine a world without all the security we take for granted today. Think about constant threats. Wild animals, enemy armies, the elements. The idea of having someone always there to protect you. An unyielding protector. A rock you could cling to. That would have been huge.
It's like that feeling when you finally get to a safe place after a crazy journey. That relief, that deep breath when you finally know you're safe. I think we all get that feeling sometimes, even if our storms are a little different than David's.
Oh, absolutely. It's a basic human need, right? That safety and security. It doesn't matter what time period you're from or where you live. But here's what I find so interesting. David doesn't just talk about being protected. He brings up God's justice and righteousness, too. He actually celebrates those qualities, like, just as much as the protection he gets.
Yeah. It's like he's saying, you didn't just get me out of a jam. You did it in a way that makes things fair. There's order to it all. It's like he really appreciates those ideas of justice and righteousness.
Yeah.
It goes beyond just wanting to be safe himself.
Exactly. And that link between living ethically and feeling good, that's something that comes up over and over, not just in religious texts, but in philosophy and ethics, too. It's this idea that if we live right, if we're just and have integrity, that's what makes life feel meaningful.
Okay, so we've got the refuge part. We've got this respect for justice. But then David adds something else. It's not just about being protected. He's thankful for being able to face problems head on. There's this verse where he describes God making his feet like hinds' feet and teaching his hands for war, like he's being trained to fight, not just hide.
That is so spot on. It's not just about someone swooping in to save the day every time. It's about us having a part to play in overcoming obstacles. We can be strong. We can be resilient. And yeah, we might get help and guidance along the way.
It's almost like spiritual training, right? Like God isn't just keeping David safe from every single danger. He's giving him the tools and the training to deal with those dangers, to be brave, to have the skills to face them.
And that's a message that speaks to us today, don't you think? We might not be facing literal battles like David, but we all have stuff we got to deal with. Obstacles, setbacks, being able to bounce back, to get up when we get knocked down. That's how we handle life. Especially today.
Yeah, it's like that whole give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life. But here it's more like give a king a shield, he's safe for one battle. Teach him to fight, he can protect his whole kingdom.
And what's cool is how this idea of being empowered ties back to that thankfulness throughout the hymn. David's not just saying, thanks for keeping me safe. He's really grateful for being given the strength and the skills to face challenges. Like he wants to step up.
Like he gets it. Real gratitude isn't just about someone handing you something good. It's about recognizing what helps us grow, what makes us stronger.
And that's such a powerful way to look at it. We're not just waiting around for good things to happen to us. We're part of the process. We can shape our own lives even when things are tough.
Which brings us to something else that's interesting. It's not just about David being stronger. It's about finding that strength in something bigger than himself. Something that gives his life meaning.
Oh, totally. David's faith in God, it's obviously a big part of this. But even if we don't talk about religion, there's something there for all of us. Connecting with something bigger than ourselves. Values community, a cause, something you believe in that makes you feel like you belong, like you're part of something important.
Like you've got something to hold on to, that North Star that keeps you going, even when things get confusing.
Exactly. And that connection, it can make you so much stronger. It helps you see the big picture. Your problems, yeah, they're real, but they're just one small part of this huge human story.
Like zooming out on a map,
Mm-hmm.
you're not just focused on your little street anymore. You see the whole country, the whole world.
And knowing that can be a huge comfort, especially when you're going through something really tough. It reminds you that you're not alone. People have always faced these kinds of challenges. It's all part of being human. And there's something kind of hopeful about that.
Okay, so we've got the refuge idea, the empowerment part, and now this connection to something bigger. It's almost like a recipe for how to be resilient, like a guide to dealing with all the ups and downs of life, but still finding your purpose and being thankful for what you have.
And it's wild how these things that David was talking about thousands of years ago, they still fit with what we know today. Psychology, philosophy, they're all talking about similar things. Like the Stoics, they were all about finding peace in the things you can control, even when everything else is crazy.
And gratitude, remembering the good things even when you're struggling. It's not just a nice idea, it actually makes you feel better. Less stress, a more positive outlook. It's all backed up by science.
It's like this ancient wisdom is giving us a blueprint. This is how you build resilience. This is how you find purpose. This is how you live a good life. And yeah, the world's a lot different now than it was back then, but the basic ideas, they still work.
But here's what I keep coming back to. How do we actually use these ideas, these timeless principles? How do we apply them to our lives today?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's one thing to appreciate these old texts, but how do we put that wisdom into action?
Yeah. It's like you've got this amazing map, all detailed and everything, but you need to figure out how to actually use it to get where you need to go. So where do we even start? Okay, so we're talking about refuge, faith, gratitude. All these big ideas that were so important to King David thousands of years ago. And as we've been saying, they still matter to us today. But how do we actually make them part of our lives? How do we take these ancient ideas and make them work for us now?
That's the challenge, right? We can see the beauty in these texts, the wisdom, but how do we actually live that wisdom out? How do we make it real in our own lives?
Exactly. It's like having a map that's totally gorgeous, super detailed, but then you have to actually figure out how to use it, how to navigate with it. Where do we even begin with all this?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me from David's song is this idea of actually building resilience. Like those metaphors he used, feet like hinds feet, hands ready for battle. It's not just about waiting for someone to save you. It's about getting stronger yourself, having the skills to face those challenges head on.
In a world that feels like it's constantly changing, throwing curveballs at us, that ability to adapt, to bounce back, to keep going, it's super important. But how do you actually get that kind of resilience? It's not like there's just one answer, right?
No way. But I think one of the most important things is realizing that resilience isn't just about toughing it out by yourself. It's also about asking for help, knowing you don't have to face everything alone.
So it's about finding those rocks in our lives, the things that give us strength and stability, that help us when things get rough. And those rocks, they can be different for everyone, right? Family, friends, community mentors, maybe even nature or just some core values that you live by.
Exactly. It's about remembering that we're all connected. We're not alone. There are people and things that can support us even when it feels like we're going through something by ourselves. And that takes us right back to gratitude. When we take the time to appreciate those rocks, those sources of support and strength, it can totally change how we feel.
It's like changing your focus,
Yeah.
Instead of looking at what's missing, you focus on what you do have. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, you think about what's good. And that change in perspective can be so powerful, even when things are hard.
And that's where faith comes in. Now, I know faith can be a tricky word. It doesn't have to be about religion, but there's a bigger idea of faith that's really important for resilience. It's that belief in something beyond yourself, whether that's a set of values, a community, a cause, or even just believing that people are basically good.
It's like that trust that there's something more out there, something bigger than just our own little problems. That gives us meaning, purpose,
Yeah.
even when things are tough.
Yeah. And that purpose, that feeling that your life matters, that can give you so much strength, especially when you're going through something that makes you question everything.
So it's not just about having people to support you or being tough. It's also about cultivating that faith, that connection to something that's bigger than just you and me. That gives you a reason to keep going, even when you're not sure what's coming next.
And honestly, I think that's what David's song is really all about. It's about resilience, faith, gratitude. It's a reminder that even when things seem impossible, we can still find strength. We can find meaning. We can find hope.
It's a message that's been around for centuries. It's timeless wisdom for how to deal with life, all its twists and turns. It worked back then, and it still works today.
So as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. What are your rocks? What gives you strength, support, inspiration? What helps you deal with the ups and downs? Take some time to appreciate those things, those blessings in your life. Cultivate that gratitude. Because when we focus on what we're thankful for, we open ourselves up to more joy, more resilience, and we feel more connected, even when life throws us those inevitable challenges.
Thanks for coming along with us on this journey exploring ancient wisdom and what it means for us today. I hope you found it interesting and inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and keep searching for those things that give your life meaning and strength.